talk show online, the world-famous Jiggy Jaguar Show.
Oh, it's quite the deal today. Welcome to it. It is the world-famous Jiggy Jaguar Radio broadcast. We are coast to coast and border to border on iHeartRadio, nation to nation over there on 50-plus AM FM stations across the country and around the world. And we have got a great guest joining us today here on our big broadcast. Dan Ferris is with us. Dan, welcome to the broadcast. How are you, sir?
I'm good, James. Good to be here.
Now, Dan, you have got a heck of a background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been a published financial analyst since, 1998.
Wow.
And for most of the last 20 years, I've been working for Stansberry Research. And
That's
I write
fantastic.
a newsletter called Extreme Value. Yes, we are actual value investors, and we're still in business. And we put that out once a month.
Fantastic.
I'm also the host of the Stansberry Investor Hour podcast at InvestorHour.com.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. We have got a great guest with us today. Dan Ferris joins us here in our broadcast. And he joins us live talking a little bit about what the effect will the stalled COVID stimulus bill have on stocks. What is some of the things that you're seeing on this?
Hello?
Yes, Dan.
Hello?
Dan, can you hear us? Oh, Mercury retrograde. Yes, indeed. Dan, I'm going to call you back on a different number, and we're going to finish this interview because I'm bound and determined we're going to finish this. So I'll be back here in just a second. So we are going to do this. We are going to call Dan on Skype because for whatever reason, our phone line today is not working. And I can give you one guess. Mercury retrograde. Thanks, Ross. Thanks for fucking telling me a couple weeks ago that we are... Okay, Dan, we're back live here. We got Dan Ferris, the editor of the Extreme Value, a monthly investment advisory that focuses on some of the safest and yet most profitable stocks in the market. He's also the host of the Stansberry Investor Hour podcast. So give us your thoughts on what effect will the stalled COVID stimulus bill have on stocks, my friend. Tell us all about it.
Well, it'll have, nobody's going to like it. People are going to hate it. Right now, what we're seeing is that the market seems very sensitive to this idea. They seem very sensitive to the idea that we might not get a, just call it $2 trillion stimulus package within the next, little bit here.
We have got Dan Ferris with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. And Dan Ferris is the editor of Extreme Value, a monthly investment advisory that focuses on some of the safest and yet most profitable stocks in the market. Great business trading at steep discounts. He's with us today here on our broadcast. You can also get more information on his podcast, InvestorHour.com. That's InvestorHour.com. Now, tell us a little bit about what you see happening here if Joe Biden's tax plan affects folks. What's going to happen here?
You know something, James? The tax plan doesn't necessarily bother me a lot. We've had higher tax rates in the past. I don't worry so terribly much about that. I'll tell you what I worry a lot more about: actually getting real economic growth. It's one thing to issue fiscal and monetary stimulus, but usually that winds up pushing on a string and or having these unintended consequences. So you might get a much higher stock market, but you might not get a much better real economy out of it. And we've certainly seen that happening, right? So I'm much more worried about that. I'm much more worried about the real economy and what these people are going to do to it. And taxes tend to be, over the long term, they tend to be not as big of an issue as most people think they're going to be.
We have got a tremendous guest with us today. He joins us live here on our broadcast. So why is there such a freak out on the news channels and folks, just freaking out about all this with the election?
You got to be careful about news, James. the past couple, well, just in the past, say, call it 48 hours here, I've seen opposite headlines based on the identical thing. So some people say, oh, well, we're afraid the stimulus isn't going to happen, so that's causing the market action. And the stimulus is going to happen, and that's causing the market action. I'm pretty sure that whatever's going on in Washington isn't changing that fast. I'm pretty sure it's not changing nearly as fast as the market thinks, right? If you could be a fly on the wall with Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin, whoever else is involved, I wonder if things would really be changing from minute to minute and the market would be selling off and, recovering and selling off. I don't think so.
So you have a great background here with the market. Talk to us a little bit about some of the global stocks that they've slid as progress on the stimulus stalls. With just 2 weeks here, as essentially 1 week before the U.S. election?
Well, look, I'm not worried about whatever slid recently because it hasn't slid hardly enough. Hardly anything has slid enough to get more attractive because we're pushing up against the ceiling of the all-time most expensive stock market we've ever seen. So, most of the stuff that we've done has been, we'll recommend like a really great business. Earlier this year, we picked Constellation Brands. Most people know them as the folks who sell Corona beer.
Yep.
And they sell lots of wine brands. And we figure, well, look, 15% of their demand is on premises in restaurants, and that kind of disappeared with the lockdown, but a lot of it moved into your home, right? You're not going to necessarily drink so much less. You're going to move some of that demand into your home. So we like that. We like waste management, right? There's going to be lots of garbage that needs to be collected. There will be less at restaurants. There might be a little more at your home, let's just say. So we're looking at stuff like that where we think it can kind of take a licking and keep on ticking because it's an absolutely, it's something that people don't want to give up, put it that way.
It is Dan Ferris. He's with us today here in our broadcast, and so Dan, you've got a good outlook on this, which is fantastic because a lot of folks have a doom and gloom aspect to this, and I like your efforts.
Well, I'll tell you something, James. That doom and gloom thing it's been a mistake just about 100% of the time, right? All my career, all my life even. Every 4 years, there's some guy in your social circle, if it's big enough, who says, if so-and-so gets elected, I'm going to sell all my stocks. Or if so-and-so gets elected, I'm going to, move to Canada. I'm going to move to where, Australia, wherever they're going to go. And it never turns out to be the right thing to do. And I think that's because who the president is doesn't matter nearly as much as these people think. The stock market has mostly gone up. Most people say, well, it's done a lot better during Democratic administrations. True enough, on average, but averages can lie to you. And the more interesting statistic to me is when the administration is unified, when the one party has the White House and the House and the Senate, which it looks like we might be headed for here, then you get really great performance, no matter whether it's Democrat or Republican, because the market just likes the predictability. So the mistake that you're talking about, James, is first-level thinking, right? Oh, it's going to be bad, I'm going to sell. But good investors are second-level thinkers. They say, what's next? Then what? What's beyond that?
That is fantastic. Well, I will have to say that you have a great outlook on this whole thing, and I am so glad that we were able to chat with you today, my friend.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad too. I want to answer this question as many times between now and election day as possible.
Well, tell us about your podcast and your writing and everything else that you're involved in.
Well, been writing newsletters in general since, I guess, like summer of 1998, and been writing Extreme Values since the fall of 2000, which was a pretty great time to start a value investing newsletter, I got to tell you. And, the podcast, I took that over. That was really Porter Stansberry and Buck Sexton from Fox News. They were doing that. And Porter went off and did other things, and then I filled in for him, and then Buck went off to do other things, and now they left me by myself. So I've been doing that for a while, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of great guests, people like John Stossel and Ron Paul and Matt Ridley and all kinds of investors. It's been a blast. It continues to be an absolute blast. It's frequently the very best part of my week. And I do the newsletter, do the podcast. I write to all the many hundreds of thousands of Stansberry subscribers about once a week in our daily email. And I just have a kind of a dream job here, James. The gig doesn't get much better than this, I'm going to tell you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you making time for us today. Thanks for coming on, and we will talk to you soon. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. Thank you, man.
Hey, thank you, James. Anytime. Let's do it again sometime.
Appreciate it. I definitely will. Thank you, my friend. There he goes. And we are going to take a brief time out. When we come back, Mercury retrograde will strike again, kids.